Please watch the video until the end. The final moments change everything. Chapter 1: The Road Back. We left the city late. The highway a ribbon of failing lights, and the radio a soft background hum that didn't make the miles any less empty. I was driving. Erin slept slumped against the window, her hair a dark spill across my shoulder. The GPS guided us farther from anything that felt like safety. A fat blue line that thinned into a single, unlit route. The house on the rental listing had promised secluded charm. In the fluorescent honesty of the evening, it looked like that, and nothing of the quiet warning my gut kept sending. The place was a clapboard relic stacked at the edge of a stand of trees, porch sagging slightly under its own age. Inside, the house smelled of lemon oil and something sweeter, like old quilts steeped in spice. We made a nervous ritual out of the lights, turn them on, make the place ours for the night. We unpacked, laughed too loudly to fill the silence, and drank from the quiet like we were conquering it. It was only when the power died that the house reminded us it wasn't ours at all. The light went out with a little squeak, and the wood settled into a deep, settling sound like a held breath. I shrugged and went to the breaker box, flipping switches. Everything hummed back. The refrigerator, the clock. But somewhere outside, a light flickered and then wasn't there anymore. Chapter 2: Knocks in the Dark. That's when the knocking began. A polite, measured sound at the door. 3 slow knocks that could have belonged to a friend who forgot their keys. Erin's eyes, half closed, opened fully. We froze because the world outside the house had always been easy to ignore, and now it was a presence with rhythm and patience. "Maybe someone's lost," Erin whispered. I told myself it would be nothing. A delivery, a neighbor. I told myself that the porch light was on, and that the world was full of human mistakes. I walked to the door and peered through the narrow spyglass. The porch framed a blank tableau. Empty steps, a low wind stirring the leaves, no figure. Whoever had knocked had stepped away. Another knock, closer now, so close, I saw the wood pulse under the knuckles. I opened the door a fraction. Air moved in, cold and smelling faintly of metal and something I couldn't name. No one stood there. A hat lay on the step. A child's toy, perhaps, or a decoy placed to tug at the heart. "Prank," I said. It sounded tiny and foolish even to my own ears. We locked the door, double-bolted it, and tried to laugh, but the laughter came out thin. Chapter 3: Faces at the Window. We moved through the house like a pair of birds, each room a potential nest to check. The windows were blind in the heavy dark. That's when I saw the first face. Not a person in full, but a mask, pale, motionless, pressed against the kitchen window. It stared with the unblinking geometry of a child's craft. Eyes cut too wide, mouth an expressionless slit. The sight made me drop the flashlight. Erin clutched at me, nails digging into my arm until the pain was a bright spike. I turned off the kitchen lights, and the island lamp threw our shadows long and graceless across the floor. The figure outside didn't move, didn't make a sound. It stood there until a car drove by on the distant road, and the masking glare of headlights painted it into a different kind of horror. Then it was gone. We called the rental agency, who told us politely that someone would check, who took our concern with the distant attention of bureaucracy. We set pairs of lamps in windows, coaxed the house to be a lighthouse. You can read that now as a failure of imagination, or as a human attempt to fix with plywood what dread does with certainty. That night we slept in the living room with the TV on, a sitcom laughing far away at the absurdity of people, and both of us woke several times to the sound of someone walking on the porch, light, careful steps that circled the house with a patience that belonged to predators. Chapter 4: They learned the house. When they came inside, it wasn't a violent storming. It was clinical. A hand eased a window latch near the back garden. It moved with intimate knowledge you only give to places you have watched for a long time. The house had been studied. The pattern of our lights, the emptiness of our daily noise, pockets of silence they could slip into. The first time I saw them clearly, the angle of light caught their profile as they crouched by the hall. 3 shapes, masks different and mismatched. One mask looked like carved wood, another like a blank porcelain face, the third like a child's carnival prize stitched with too many smiles. Their clothes were black, Their movements were coordinated, almost ritualistic. They didn't shout. They didn't ransack. They made us into something else. Spectators. I remember them playing a game with us. An uninvited theater. They knocked once on a bedroom door as if testing whether our comfort lay behind it. They whispered through the vent, words too low to be heard, but their composure made the house into a stage and us into the last foolish actors. They never spoke of money or revenge or reasons. They asked for nothing. That was the point, the absence of motive like a blade. It made everything meanable only in fragments. When they finally took a chair and set it by the window to watch us, it felt like being studied under a microscope. Chapter 5. Rules broken, promises failed. We tried to bargain with the idea of reason. I offered them the car keys. Erin pushed me back from the doorway like she'd seen a better fate in a broken thing. She tried to negotiate in soft, human terms. Please, just go. The masks didn't reply. A long, slow exhale was the closest thing to a concession. That's when things slid from malignant to malignant and more personal. The masks began to do things that weren't only about taking or breaking. They moved objects, not randomly but carefully, as if arranging a shrine of our fear. A photograph turned face down, a shoe placed solemnly at the foot of the stairs, the clock in the hallway set to a time that meant nothing and everything. Each small gesture stacked like a sentence I couldn't parse. I saw one of them, closer now, fingers lifting the edges of our life with a tenderness that made my skin pucker. They touched Erin's hair as she slept. Their hand was cold, skillful. It was a violation that had no material aim. It was a statement of ownership rolled out like a map over our private maps. We thought of running. We planned and unplanned, each attempt half-formed and then quashed by the house itself. The way the doors opened to corridors they would occupy, the way the shadows seemed to close behind us. We moved like mice in a maze where someone had rearranged the walls. Chapter 6. The sound at the edge of sleep. There's a sound that lives at the edge of sleep. A soft scraping, a breath taken at the back of the throat of the night. I woke to it in a way that made my mind try to translate the noise into ordinary life. Someone repairing a fence, a cat fighting at the window, anything but the truth. But the sound grew into pattern. A device being tuned, a ritual of patience continued as if to teach us a lesson. They brought a camera, not flashbulb, not amateur. A heavy camera with a lens that swallowed light and made us into images. They practiced taking pictures of us sleeping, of the expressions we made when we didn't know we were being watched. It felt like a slow death by observation, as if the danger wasn't the wound but being catalogued as one. I tried to take the lens from them. I failed. The masks found pleasure in restraint. The smallest of my failures was a feast. They photographed our hands, the ways we held our cups, the smallness of our domestic rituals. When they finally left a photo on the mantel, us caught mid-breath, our faces pale and stupid with incomprehension, it read like evidence. Proof that they existed and that we were their study. I realized then what they wanted, not to take, but to name. They turned our house into a dossier, and us into specimens. I think that's when I stopped being afraid of who they were and started being afraid of what they intended to do with what they'd made of us. Chapter 7. Dawn's quiet calculation. Dawn came like an apology. The sky bled pale and indifferent through the curtains. They left without ceremony. No grand exit, no declaration. Just the quiet closing of a door and a silhouette gone into the trees. They left the camera bag behind and a note. A single typed line on the back of one of the photographs. Thank you for participating. We sat on the floor in the stiff pool of morning light and counted what was left. The house was a ruined tableau, but not in the way you might expect. Nothing of huge monetary value was gone. Instead, the thing they had taken was the sense of home itself. They had rewritten the house's grammar. Every picture, every moved object, every small, intimate rearrangement felt like a punctuation meant to end sentences that once felt ordinary. We called the police. The officers were kind, procedural, and slightly bored, their faces part of a different machine. They asked questions we couldn't answer. Why this house? Why us? How did they get away? The answers lay somewhere in the spaces between one human and the next. In the randomness of cruelty, in the mechanical delight of strangers who find joy in turning privacy into performance. Even months later, the house sits like a patient that no longer trusts the hands that care for it. We moved away, carried the photographs unevenly like trophies or talismans, unsure which. There are nights when I wake and expect to see a mask at the window, to feel the practiced touch on my shoulder. Sometimes the fear is a small animal curled at the base of my skull. Sometimes it's a tidal thing that drags at the foundations. If there's a lesson, it's this: the world isn't marked by maps of logic. Sometimes terror is not a motive but an experiment. And when people like that come calling, there is no script to follow, only the raw, live improvisation of survival. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, give the video a like, leave a comment, and share the video.